tonight to send the city manager home immediately upon the gavel back in.
Should be. Attorney. City Council meeting's called to order. Welcome, everybody. Thank you to the members of the public who are here. Thank you to city staff. I know these are long days for you. We appreciate your endurance, so thank you. I'd like to remind everybody to please silence your electronic devices, and if you would, please stand and join me for the invocation and pledge. Almighty God, we come before you tonight as a free and grateful people. May we never take our freedoms and our many gifts for granted. Lord, we ask you to open our hearts to love and charity towards one another so that we may live and act according to your will. Heal all divisions among us so that we may work together to do what is right and good. We pray in a special way tonight for those affected by the coronavirus, especially those in the Tampa Bay area. We ask you to give them strength and healing that only you can provide. We ask for your guidance tonight as we conduct the work of a free people and engage in the difficult task of self-government. May you always continue to bless our great nation and our amazing city of Temple Terrace. Amen.
Amen.
Please join me in the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Like to ask ahead of time for everybody's patience with me tonight. This is my first attempt at being the stunt mayor, so I am filling in. So also I'd like to point out that the city manager is a little under the weather, which is why he's not on the dais tonight, if anybody's wondering. He will be attending the meeting and addressing issues from down there. He's a little under the weather. Also would like to mention that any members of the public that would wish to address the council on any items, if you would please complete one of the speaker forms located in the back of the room and provide it to the city clerk to my left, and she will ensure that you're called up at the appropriate time. So our first item is the 2020 Temple Terrace Arbor Day Proclamation. If our city arborist, Joe Ferris, would approach the podium. Good evening, Joe.
Good evening.
Welcome.
Thank you.
So it's my honor to read this proclamation. It says, whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees. This holiday, called Arbor Day, was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million in Nebraska. Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world. And whereas trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, lower heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable resource giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. Trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business area, and beautify our community. And whereas trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. Now therefore I, Andy Ross, on behalf of Mayor Mel Horado, by virtue of the authority vested in me as Vice Mayor of the City of Temple Terrace, Florida, do hereby set aside March 7th, 2020 as Temple Terrace Arbor Day.
Thank you.
sorry, Joe, but it says here you have to have your picture with me.
Thank you very much. I'm very excited to announce this year's Arbor Day. We've joined forces with Sherry Donahue and the Temple Terrace Garden Club to be a part of their annual spring market that will be held this Saturday, March 7th at Woodmont Park from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. Very excited about joining forces. It seemed like a perfect opportunity to bring both together. I'll be there that day giving away 15-gallon trees, got a variety of trees to residents of Temple Terrace who would like to plant one for Arbor Day that day. Also be there available to answer any questions and concerns anyone might have. Also have a guest speaker. One of our former city arborists, Joe Gross, will be there around 10 a.m. to give a presentation about the benefits of Arbor Day and planting trees. I'm very excited about this, and I hope everyone comes out. Looks like it's going to be great weather. And it's a great little market. If you haven't been to it, definitely something to come out.
Great,
Spend a
very
little
good. Thank
time.
you, Joe. And I'd just like to mention to the public, if you're not familiar with the city arborist, if you haven't had an opportunity to meet Joe, he's a wealth of information. He has come to my house, problems with trees that you think is one thing, and Joe looks at it and he tells you exactly what the issue is, and it's just another service that the city provides, and Joe, you do a great job with that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have a presentation from IT Director Sally Cabrera on the City of Temple Terrace's IT security initiatives. Welcome, Sally.
Good evening. I'm here to talk about a little bit about some of the security measures that the IT department here at the city tries to help with as much as we can in this day and age in electronics. There are several different types of threats. Oh, God. Aha. Okay.
You are the IT Director.
Yes, I am. Different types of threats include viruses, malware, ransomware, hacking, and phishing. Each of these different threats are all similar in that they want to obtain data viciously, but differ in the way that they obtain them. A virus can be a computer program that replicates itself onto a computer. Malware can come in via the web or via an email. It's intentional to cause damage to a server or network. Ransomware, which is a hot topic nowadays, it threatens to publish or block sensitive data. Hacking is unauthorized access to control computers and networks, and phishing is a technique that masquerades as a trustworthy source via email or telephone or text message. Hacking and phishing. There is a difference. They're similar, but again, there is a difference in the way that they obtain this data. Unauthorized access to control computers and network security systems. Use of software tools to take advantage of a flawed computer. Information is extracted involuntarily. Phishing, again, masquerades as a trustworthy source and typically uses email spoofing to going to direct users to obtain the information, sometimes for funding, sometimes just to, actually most of the time for funding. It's usually email spoofed messages to make it seem like it's a legitimate person within an organization. They usually get this information through social engineering, either scrubbing websites to find top people in an organization and masquerading their emails as that person to make the employee or person that receives it think it's legitimate. And that runs into a lot of problems. How can we protect the city? Antivirus, malware, software, email filters, firewalls, deploying countermeasures, cloud-based applications, systems updates, data encryption, and the most important is employee training. Antivirus and malware has been installed onto all computers in the servers in the city. Software is updated several times a day and pushed to each computer and server. Email filters. Malware, spam, phishing filters on all of our email systems. With the implementation of Office 365, our yearly subscription filters out about 90% of the emails that our system actually receives before it actually gets to our inboxes. And that is part of the Microsoft subscription that we have, which is substantial. Some emails still arrive, but it's significantly less than what we receive on a daily basis. Firewalls and countermeasures between our internets and networks to minimize intrusion. We deploy countermeasures such as network segregation and network segmentation to help mitigate the risks. Cloud-based applications. The implementation of more hosted or cloud-based applications help alleviate some of the security issues. Some of those applications that we have are that are cloud-based or hosted is our financial software, our recreation software, obviously our email and office applications, our fire patient care software, and our police crash and citation software are all cloud-based, and that actually helps alleviate some of the security risks that we could have. System updates are done regularly on PCs and servers, installed weekly, and if a security update comes out, it's installed immediately. Sometimes that's more frequently than weekly, sometimes that's daily. Backups and systems logs. Daily server backups are done off-site. We have implemented something called shadow copy, which would allow a user to, what it does is it basically creates a copy of all the files on your file system, and either a user can restore it or we can go back and restore it easier. And regular monitoring of logs on our servers and for unusual activity. Data encryption. Encryption of data sent between users and servers is all that data is encrypted. And we've implemented Windows 10 BitLocker on our PCs and laptops, which adds an extra layer of protection to that hard drive of those systems. And our most important is employee training. We provide training to all staff to help identify and avoid internet scams and attacks as best as we can. Email alerts frequently are sent out from the IT department to warn users to not respond to an email if it looks suspicious. And training has been completed by employees via an online web course for phishing and hacking attacks. I know that the city manager sent you guys the same link to take it. If you would like to, you're more than welcome to take it and send me the certificate, then we know you guys have taken it. But that has helped quite a bit with employees recognizing email scams. That's training has helped quite a bit with that. And information sharing. As a result of the employee training, we've been assisted by several departments sharing information from other agencies, national, state, and local, regarding different security measures that they've implemented or programs that they've implemented. We've also been in contact with the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office, and they are in the initial development stages of a interagency phishing program. And so we'll hopefully get in on the beginning of that one. And recently, our IT department has been granted access to Homeland Security information, and they send bulletins out several times a day about different warnings and levels of warnings, and includes information specific to each warning as to where it's coming from or where the attack is headed. So that's been very, very helpful lately. Are we ready? Well, there's no 100% foolproof way to be ready nowadays because the industry is always changing. They are always trying to find different ways to attack us. So as the industry evolves, we continue to improve our defense for unwanted attacks. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Council members, any questions?
Yes.
Mr. Schuster.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Very good presentation, good information. Just one question. Would it be worth our while to utilize a third party once a year, say, to come in and just hack at us and see where we have any vulnerabilities, work it into next year's budget? So
We
that
have actually approached that a few years back, and they have come in to tell us where our intrusions are, and based on budget, that's been something that's been kind of, we've not been able to accomplish
How much
recently.
would it cost?
Off the top of
Give
my
me
head,
rough.
it's anywhere between $7,000 to $10,000 to have one of these intrusion tests done. But $7,000 to $10,000
It's
would
cheap
save a
compared to
lot
the
compared to
ransomware.
what it would be to
Agreed.
get
Maybe
the
that's-
information back.
Put that in your budget request this year.
Sure, absolutely.
Mr. Chambers?
No, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is a appointment of a alternate member of the Riverwatch Task Force. There's currently one vacancy on the Riverwatch Task Force for an alternate member. The city received one application from a Miss Kristen Speitler, and I hope I'm saying that correctly. Is Miss Speitler in attendance? Would you like to speak?
No, it's not a say your name.
Spittler, okay. I'm sorry. There's two ways to do it. I knew I'd goof it up.
It's okay.
If you'd like to speak, you have to come up. You don't have to. It's up to you. Just, you're the only applicant, but if you want to introduce yourself.
I don't really have much to say. I work at Moffitt in research, and I just think that it's important to have somebody who cares.
It
looking
is.
over our water,
Well,
so-
well, thank you for your willingness to serve. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. So, seeing that she's the sole applicant, I would entertain a motion to approve the appointment of Kristen Spittler to the Riverwatch Task Force as an alternate member for a term beginning tonight and ending on March 3rd, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any nays? Welcome and thank you for your service. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the February 18th City Council minutes.
Move to approve.
Any discussion or corrections? No. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Minutes are approved. Persons wishing to be heard on items not listed on the agenda or items on the consent agenda. 3-minute time limit will be imposed on all members of the public. It's important that speakers come to the podium, state your name and city of residence. It's very important that you speak into the microphone so it's on the record. During public comment on items not on the agenda, usually the council does not respond and engage at that point. However, your comments are heard by the directors and the city manager and are taken seriously and followed up on. Sometimes, if a council member wants to discuss that item later, it's brought up under new business, which occurs later in the meeting. So sometimes people leave and they don't realize we talked about their item. So the first request is from Mr. Loeb. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. I'm Charles Love. I live in Tampa, Terrace Park, which is your neighbor and all that. And I want to talk mostly about women's studies tonight. But first, before I do that, I want to remind you all about the calendar from the MPO. And I'll show this around here in the back. This is you all for the bike race. And the bike race, by the way, is coming on March 27th. So it kind of fits in. So if you all haven't seen this on the MPO calendar, this is what it looks like. Along the same line of what's coming, another thing coming up on that same weekend, March 26th to March 29th, is the book sale at the library. Recently, I picked up a book over there in the library for a quarter. It was by Audrey Meadows, who wrote about Jackie Gleason and the Honeymooners. I looked inside and I got a real surprise. Her autograph was in the book. And I decided, what I would decide to do was I figured the library can raise a lot of extra money I give it back to them. I decided to get a photocopied of her autograph and also some of the pictures anybody who's willing to see it. What they're doing now, unlike what they used to do with the library, is to put it up to auction on eBay. They used to have an auction before the library sale. So, but now they're putting it on eBay, and if anybody wants to see the autograph or the pictures, they're welcome to do so. It kind of leads me into line talking about a couple of women for Women's Studies Month, which is what I intended to talk about. More to start with the woman who's more really local. I'll read this to you. Airmail was inaugurated for Tampa on April 1st, 1926, and an airport ceremony brought out of the city's dignitaries. The postmistress was Mrs. Elizabeth Dortch Bernard, whose salary was over $6,000 a year. That's back in 1926. A lot of money. It was reported that Mrs. Bernard is the only woman in the United States or any part of the world to be paid so large a salary to have such a charge of a large post office. She was state and national officer of the Business and Professional Women's Association and held high office in the National Postmasters Association. One final thing I wanted to read was kind of like my favorite for this month is Jeanette Rankin. I also picked this up at the library one time. And she was a congresswoman, for those of you who did not know who she was. She was the only congressperson to vote against being both in World War I and World War II. That I knew. What I did not know was that her very interesting history. Let me read this very, very quickly for you all. Breaking barriers was a rule for Jeanette Rankin's life. From humble beginnings to the 1880s Montana, she became the first woman in Congress, the co-founder of the ACLU, and the only person to vote against America's entries into both wars. She was suffragette, peace activist, and reformer. Jeanette always stood for her courage of her convictions, and despite unimaginable pressures, and never stopped working for a more just society for all peoples. She was actually studying with Gandhi. She was in India at that time. And I was very impressed. She also, in her later part of her life, demonstrated against the Vietnam War. I mean, physically, right? Going signs and all that. Well, anyway, that's about it. And if anybody wants to see anything, I have. I'm more than welcome to do so. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Loeb. And I'd just like to point out to the public that Mr. Loeb has donated many interesting historical artifacts to the city over time, which have been used to supplement funds for the library and so forth. So we appreciate your generosity, sir. Next request is from the Garden Club president, Sharon Gaskin. Welcome, Ms. Gaskin.
Yes, this is Sharon Gaskin, president of the Garden Club. I'm here to extend a very personal invitation to all of you and you to come Saturday to Spring Market, 15th annual Spring Market at Historic Woodmont Park. Two important things to remember this weekend. You have to set your clocks forward, spring ahead, and come to Historic Woodmont Park. There will be music. I think there's going to be a ukulele band. Have you ever heard a ukulele band? As you already know, we're going to have the arborist, and we'll have the trees, and we'll be celebrating Arbor Day in conjunction with the city. And it's going to be a fabulous day. Your own Sherry Donahue is my chair for Spring Market this year, and we're going to have all kinds of great vendors. I want to, if I may, hand out an invitation,
Please
a personal invitation, and I hope I see all of you there this coming Saturday. The weather's going to be fantastic. We're going to bring in spring in Temple Terrace. Spring is a time of renewal. I see a lot of signs of renewal here in Temple Terrace lately, so we're really feeling very positive about our Spring Market this year. Thank you.
Mrs. Gaskin, before you step away, Woodmont Park, Saturday, what are the hours?
8 to 3.
8 to 3.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Something for everybody.
Sharon, you
Thank
give
you.
those to,
If,
okay,
well, that's fine.
that's okay. There you go. Yes, I would, thank you.
Thank you so much. Are there other members of the public who would like to address the council for items not on the agenda?
I'll leave some extras on the back table in case.
That's fine, thank you. Next item on the agenda is a Municipal Code Enforcement Board lien reduction petition for property located at 7720 Gulf Court. The presentation will be made by the Municipal Code Enforcement Board Chairman, David Pogorlich. Welcome, David.
Good evening, council members, city attorney. David Pogorlich, chairman of the Municipal Code Enforcement Board. Before I get into the details, a couple of clarifications. If you look at your backup, you will see 2 or 3 different numbers as the original lien price. The original lien amount should be and is $4,450. Also, you will see that the respondent's last name is different in a couple of spots. The reason for that is when it first came in front of the Municipal Code Enforcement Board, the respondent's last name was Santiago. Sometime thereafter, she has changed her name or changed it back, but I'm not sure what the case is, but the name was changed to Madi. So you'll see Madi and you'll see Santiago. Both names are correct. So at our February 12th, 2020 Municipal Code Enforcement meeting, the board considered a lien appeal relative to case number 19-1124, City versus DeBarris Santiago. During that meeting, the board considered and recommended unanimously that a $4,450 lien be reduced to $1,000, contingent upon the receipt of payment within 30 days of tonight's City Council meeting of March 3rd, 2020, or the fine shall revert back to the original amount of $4,450, and we're just looking for you guys to ratify that. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I'll stand for any questions.
Director Barone, do you have any comments on this?
No, sir.
Sir, is the petitioner here tonight?
I don't see it.
Don't see her. Council members, any questions for Chairman Pogorlich?
No, no, thank you.
Thank you.
Good. If, are there any members of the public that would like to address the council on this issue? Seeing none, if the council determines that the lien reduction is appropriate, I call for a motion to approve the lien reduction in case 19-1124, City versus DeBarris Santiago for the property located at 7720 Gulf Court.
I move to approve.
Second.
A motion and a second, or is there any discussion?
No.
All those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No nays. Mr. Barone, somebody will reach out to the petitioner to let her know that this has been approved in the 30-day contingency and so forth?
Yes, as well.
Okay, very good, thank you. Next item on the agenda is a resolution authorizing the acceptance and expenditure of a $3,000 Justice Assistance Grant. Deputy Police Chief Bernie Seeley will explain. Welcome, Chief.
Thank you, sir. Council members, Bernard Seeley, your Deputy Chief of Police. The city has been awarded, and we are recommending the approval of a non-matching reimbursement grant in the amount of $3,000 through the Department of Justice NYBERS JAG Award. Last year, the police record section processed almost 12,000 reports requiring UCR validation. In order to ensure the compliance with all UCR and NYBERS requirements, staff members are required to sit for long periods of time at well-worn traditional style desks throughout their entire shift. Equipping the current work area with ergonomically designed desks will improve the work environment, increase productivity, and greatly assist staff members in their efforts to ensure accurate implementation of the NYBERS. If approved to accept and expend these funds, the police department intends to purchase 2 workstations for the police record section from the National Business Furniture at a total cost of $2,750.56. The remaining balance of these grant funds not to exceed $3,000 will be spent on workstation items to improve the ergonomic functionality of the work stations. I stand for questions.
Very good. Prior to questions, there's any members of the public who would like to address the council on this issue? Seeing none, council members, any questions for the Deputy Chief?
No.
Okay, if acceptable then, I'll entertain a motion authorizing the acceptance and expenditure of $3,000 awarded to the city under the National Incident-Based Reporting System Justice Assistant Grant.
Move to approve the resolution authorizing the acceptance and expenditure of the $3,000 grant award.
Motion, is there a second?
Second?
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much, Deputy Chief. Next item is the second public hearing and reading of Ordinance 1488, approving the zoning reclassification for property located at 5212 Temple Heights Road. Public meeting is called to order. Senior Planner Gus Carpus will provide a brief explanation after the city attorney Cichon polls the council for ex parte communication.
At this time, if each one of you would state whether you have received any written or oral ex parte communications concerning this matter. If you have, then please state with whom you had that communication, when that communication took place, and what the substance of it was. If it was a written communication, then please provide a copy of that communication to the city clerk for the record. Thank you.
Is this since the last meeting?
Whether it's either since the last meeting or even before the last meeting, at any time, have you received any ex parte communication regarding this matter?
Okay, I have received no communication, but I did have a conversation about this particular project at the Affordable Housing Committee meeting.
I have had none.
I have had none.
I've had none.
Very good. Senior Planner Gus Carpus, welcome, sir.
Welcome, thank you. Good evening, Mayor and council members. Could I have, there we go. So what we have tonight, again, is the second public hearing and reading for RZP 19-02 zoning classification for 5212 Temple Heights Road for Habitat for Humanity of Hillsborough County. The property is currently zoned single-family 7.5. They're proposing a zoning of PD, planned development. As the map shows, the size of the property is 2.3 acres. There's the aerial, the site, and a photo of the site. And again, this isn't oriented north, but the property is proposed to be platted into 12 single-family parcels. They will be coming later with the plat application and a site plan. A private road will be constructed to service the proposed parcels, and that is shown here. This is one I didn't have last time. But you'll see that this road will need to be approved by the city engineer and the fire department for public safety issues. Again, here are the elevations that were submitted. Those may change. The Planning Commission found the request to be consistent with the comprehensive plan. The Development Review Committee had no objections. The City Council approved this item at the first hearing at the February 18th meeting, and City staff recommends the Council approve Ordinance 1488 for RZP 19-02. The applicants are here.
Thank you,
Any
Mr.
questions?
Carpus. Are there members of the public who'd like to address the council on this issue? Would the petitioner like to add anything? Welcome, ma'am. We just need your name and city of residence, please.
Sure. My name is Lynette Glass. I'm the Community Development Manager with Habitat for Humanity. I live in Valrico, Florida.
Welcome.
Thank you. Just wanted to mention, thank you very much for the opportunity to bring this before City Council. The planning staff has been just absolutely wonderful and has met with us many times, as well as the city engineer and the public works director. I just wanted to mention that the road is planned to be City of Temple Terrace road. It's not going to be a private road. And I just want to make that clear. And again, point out that we really hope, we have met actually with your arborist, so that was a nice presentation. And we do hope that in the center of the site that we can retain the trees, and there's a nice stand of trees, and that we can create a little mini park for the residents of the subdivision.
Thank you very much.
Any questions?
Colleagues, any questions for staff or the applicant?
No.
Okay.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Give me a second to catch up. There's no objection. I will close the public hearing and ask the clerk to read the title of Ordinance 1488.
An ordinance of the City of Temple Terrace, Florida, rezoning 2.38 plus-minus acres of land located south of University Square Drive and west of Overlook Drive with an address of 5212 Temple Heights Road from zoning classification single-family residential R-7.5 Temple Terrace to planned development PD in Temple Terrace for RZP 1902, providing for amendment to the official zoning map of the city, providing severability and effective date, and repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith.
Good. Colleagues, if the ordinance is acceptable, I'll entertain a motion to adopt ordinance 1488, approving the zoning reclassification of 5212 Temple Heights Road.
Move to approve ordinance 1488 for RZP 19-02.
Is there a motion and a second? Any discussion?
No?
All those in favor signify with aye. Aye. Any opposed? No nays. Thank you very much. Next item is a second public hearing and reading of ordinance 1489, approving the voluntary annexation of folio number 038207-0000 and part of folio number 061363-0000. I'll open the public hearing. Senior Planner Gus Carpus will provide a brief explanation. Welcome. Welcome back.
Welcome back. Thank you very much, Mayor and council members. Okay, again, this is the second public hearing and reading for the voluntary annexation for the property located here. It is an unaddressed piece of property located south of Harney Road and west of US Highway 301. The request is to annex two parcels, actually one parcel and a portion of another, into the city of Temple Terrace. There's approximately 81.02 acres. The existing zoning on this property is agricultural rural, and that's a Hillsborough County zoning. The proposed zoning would be planned development. This is incorrect, actually. No, correct. It is correct. The proposed zoning, when it comes into the city, would be planned development. And that rezoning application will be coming before the council next meeting. The Development Review Committee has reviewed this request and determined that the proposed annexation would not negatively impact the city's level of service or personnel. The Hillsborough County Planning Commission did review this and has no objection. The City Council approved this item on the first reading on February 18th. And then staff also recommends the council approve the adoption and second reading of the ordinance 1489. The applicant is here if there are any questions.
Okay, very good. Is there any members of the public who'd like to address the council on this issue? Would the applicant like to address the council? Welcome, ma'am. Just need your name and who you are.
Who I am. My name is Cammie Corbett. I'm with the law firm of Hill Ward Henderson. My address is 101 East Kennedy Boulevard, Suite 2700, and I am here representing the applicant. Don't really have anything to add this evening other than to say we're really excited to be coming into the city of Temple Terrace. Mr. Stevenson and his staff, Greg, Gus, Amir, have all been very great and welcoming to us and helping us navigate your process, and we really appreciate it.
Good, thank you. Council, are there questions of staff or of the applicant's representative?
No.
Very good, and I will, yes, close the public hearing. Ask the clerk to read the title of the ordinance, please.
An ordinance of the City of Temple Terrace, Florida, providing for the voluntary annexation of two parcels of certain real property totaling 81.02 plus minus acres, lying within the unincorporated area of Hillsborough County and located south of Harney Road and west of US Highway 301, legally described in Exhibit A attached hereto and made a part hereof, redefining the corporate boundaries of the city to include the annexed area, providing severability and effective date, and repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith.
Thank you. Council members, I'd entertain a motion to adopt ordinance 1489.
Move to adopt ordinance 1489.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Aye. No opposed. All right, the next item is resolution approving the Lien Family Partnership Stipulation and Agreement of Settlement. City Attorney, Mr. Stone, will explain.
Thank you. This item was noticed and on the agenda at our last meeting, but because the two exhibits that are referenced in the agreement were not attached at the time, this item was postponed by council to this meeting. I'm going to be asking that council approve the resolution that would approve the stipulation and agreement of settlement in a case that was filed in 2016 by Lien Family Partnership Limited against the City of Temple Terrace, contesting the constitutionality of a section of our rental housing program ordinance. The federal court had determined that a portion of the ordinance was indeed unconstitutional, and there was extensive litigation in this case. We were represented by our insurance counsel, who is there in the audience. He moved on me, so I couldn't find him for a minute. Mr. Roper is here, that he can answer any questions if you have any. This case was proceeding toward trial. There were still motions filed. However, the parties decided then to go back to the table and mediated again and reached this particular settlement. The settlement contains an amount of money that would be paid to the members of the class. The court, after much time had passed, finally determined that did designate that there was a class, and there are 85 properties that constitute that class. The amount of money that would go to these particular property owners would be $81,012.50. That too is going to be paid by our insurance coverage, less $25,000 that is our deductible. The $25,000 has long since been paid, so that's not something that's going to be a new payment that we're looking forward to the future. It contains payment for plaintiff's attorney's fees, and also what you're going to be seeing after this particular item is also on the agenda tonight. It contains a modification, an amendment to our, our ordinance, section 8-134, which is part of our housing code dealing with the rental permits, permit inspections, and renewal of rental permits. If you approve the settlement tonight, it would take effect only after you hear the next item, which would include the actual approval of the new ordinance with the changes. What was contained in your packet is a red line version of that particular ordinance so that you know what the changes would be. If you want me to discuss them now, I can. If you want me to wait till the next item, I can do it then. But I am recommending that that you all approve the, I want to get the title of it right, that you approve the stipulation and agreement of settlement in case number 816 CV 03463 JSM AAS in the United States District Court, Middle District of Florida, Tampa Division.
Very good. Are there members of the public that would like to address this issue? Mr. Roper, anything to add? Or Mr.
Unless you all have any questions.
That's next. Council members, any questions of Mr. Roper or the city
No.
attorney?
No, thank you.
Very good. If acceptable, then I'll entertain a motion approving the proposed stipulation and agreement of settlement in pending federal litigation case 816 CV 03463 JSM AAS.
So moved.
Motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No nays. Resolution passes. Thank you, Mr. Schoen. And the next item is yours also. Public hearing, second reading of Ordinance 1491, amending Chapter 8, Code of Ordinances, revising Article 4 of the Housing Code. I'll open the public hearing. City Attorney, Mr. Schoen, will explain.
As I stated, part of the agreement that had been negotiated between the plaintiffs and the city contained a provision that we amend our rental housing ordinance so that it satisfied the constitutionality requirements. Obviously, any ordinance has to be constitutional, and since the federal judge had determined that there was a small portion that he felt did not meet constitutional muster. The two parties had agreed on what is proposed there in front of you this evening. It does not take away from the fact that we will still require that people make application, that permits be required, and that there still be an inspection of rental housing units. What it does make clear, though, is to the owners of, let me find the section, to the owners of rental properties, it does make it clear to them that no inspection of the premises will be conducted without the city first having obtained either the consent of the property owner. Prior to this, merely by making application, it said that you automatically gave consent. So that was a little bit of an issue. So now the ordinance tells property owner or rental property owners that the consent of the property owner is required in the case of a vacant property being marketed as available for lease, sublease, or rent. Or the city must first obtain the consent of the current occupant or the lessee in a case where the property has an occupant or a tenant. Or the city must first obtain an inspection warrant pursuant to Florida statute. So one of those things is going to happen. If you do not have an inspection, you do not get a permit, then you would be in violation of the ordinance and you would go through our normal procedures on prosecution of those violations.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Schoen. Are there any members of the public that would like to address the council on this issue? Seeing none, council members, do you have any questions of the city attorney? Mr. Schisler.
Mr. Schoen, how have these changes been vetted to the extent that we don't have a similar or a new problem that gets unearthed by somebody who picks at them long enough?
I am going to defer to Mr. Roper on that.
Mr. Roper, welcome.
Thank you. Donovan Roper from Apopka, Florida. Very good question. It's been vetted by not only ourselves along with Mr. Schoen, but also with plaintiff's counsel. And the proposed language in this ordinance revision or proposed ordinance revision is also going to be filed with Judge Moody's court, Federal District Court in Tampa. We have tailored this through many, many back and forth sessions with plaintiff's counsel in order to address the gap, the very narrow gap that unfortunately in one of Lien Family Partnership's houses fell between the cracks because it involved an unoccupied unit by literally 3 days before a tenant moved in. The lease was signed on July 28th. The inspection was done on the 31st, and the tenant moved in on August 2nd. So we were literally in a couple of days gap there. And the problem in the past was that we had that automatic consent by signing the application. What we're proposing to do here is to remove that language and substitute it with a notice to the property owner and to obtain their consent, and if they don't permit their consent and provide permission to do the administrative inspection, simply for purposes of the fire code and building codes, that you go through the usual warrant process that was in effect previously anyway. So it's been a couple of weeks back and forth going on the drafting of this particular ordinance.
Well, you said it's going to be filed with Judge Moody's office. Is he going to have to rule on that?
No.
Or it's just-
And in fact, he can't.
Okay.
He can't. I just wanted you to know that we are advising the court not only of the fact that the ordinance is being amended to cure what he felt was a constitutional infirmity under the unconstitutional conditions clause, but also give him a copy of what the revision is going to say.
Thank you.
The case law requires him not to rule on it. Okay. Any other questions?
Other questions of staff? Ms. Donahue?
I have a question. Because of the unique, what was that, 3 days? If that happens again, will someone be prevented from moving in? Or-
Yeah. We've essentially closed the loop here to include a specific provision as to the owner of the property, not just the occupier or the tenant. Previous codification language was addressing the occupant and/or the tenant, and there was sort of an omission when it came to the actual owner of the property when it came to consent. The owner was addressed by simply filling out the application. By filling out the application, you gave consent. Plaintiff's argument was that that was coerced consent.
So you
Other
had to stay in
questions,
court.
council members? A little out of order, but we do have a member of the public that wants to make a comment, Mr. Loeb, but you have to approach the, and it's a comment to us, you got to make your comment to us.
All right. My question is, it's a little vague toward who has to do the initiative. Is it the owner or the person that's renting, or is it the city that actually makes the initiative about your inspections?
Well, it's a long ordinance. That language is in there. Would you like to, can you speak to that, Mr. Singh?
the question again?
Well, what I'm trying to say is who actually has the responsibility to initiate what your inspections are. In other words, is it the city that's supposed to initiate it? If there is an occupant, is the occupant supposed to initiate it, or is it the owner that's supposed to initiate it?
An application for permit should be submitted by the owner of the property.
Nobody about the scheduling.
Oh, the scheduling?
Yeah.
That would be something that the scheduling would be worked out, obviously, between our inspectors and the property owner. If that doesn't occur, then it can be worked out with the occupant. So if the occupant or the tenant can give permission as well to the inspectors.
So the question, though, I think it's initiated by the by the department, by the city.
If we discover that there's property that is being rented out and that there is no permit, then yes, our inspectors would initiate.
Yeah.
So,
I think it's an important point to bring up. You know.
Thank you, Mr. Loeb. Chief Kemp, I'm assuming that you've worked with your staff on this, and this is going to be workable with yours. Okay, very good. Any other questions, council members?
No.
Close the public hearing and ask the clerk to read the title of the ordinance, please.
An ordinance of the City of Temple Terrace, Florida, amending Chapter 8 Temple Terrace Code of Ordinances by revising Article 4 Housing Code in Section 8-134, rental permits, Section 8-135, permit inspections, and Section 8-136, renewal of rental permits, providing authority to codify, providing for the repeal of ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Thank you, Ms. Mooney. If the ordinance is acceptable, I'll entertain a motion to adopt ordinance 1491.
I move to approve the adoption of ordinance 1491, amending Chapter 8 Code of Ordinances, revising Article 4 of the Housing Code.
Thank you, ma'am. Do we have a second? Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No nays. Ordinance passes. Thank you very much. Is there any other carryover council business from previous meetings?
No, not for me.
No? Okay. Do we have any new business or board reports? Would anybody like to report on anything? No new business? Mr. Stevenson, you're up next. I know that you're under the weather.
And it kind of runs right in if there's no board updates. I've asked Fire Chief Ian Kemp, who's been keeping track of this coronavirus here in the county, to come up and kind of just let you guys know.
Great.
We know.
Very good. Thank you. Good idea. Thank you. Welcome, Chief.
Thank you, Acting Mayor, Council, City Manager, City Attorney, Ian Kemp, your Fire Chief. Our department has been staying updated regularly by many means in regards to this virus, working closely with our own medical director, those within the county level, and most importantly, directly with the Center of Disease Control. The City of Temple Terrace is currently taking many measures to ensure our employees as well as the citizens are educated regarding the coronavirus. Some of these measures are direction protocol changes for all fire department personnel regarding treatment and transport of those showing signs and symptoms of the virus. Our own dispatchers protocol has changed as well to better identify and ask pertinent questions for those that may give us information that indicates that they may also have symptoms and signs of the virus. We have communicated with our city employees by virtue of directly with our directors, as well as emails directly to all city employees. Both the city and the fire department have information pertaining to this virus on our website. The fire department has also distributed information regarding the virus on our department's Facebook page. The coronavirus is a large family of viruses that are common in many different species of animals. The most common symptom is the COVID-19 or fever, cough, and shortness of breath. The virus is thought to spread via droplets produced when an infected person coughs or sneezes or is around those that have the virus and is in close contact. The CDC indicates that there's currently no vaccine to prevent the coronavirus. They further note that the best way to prevent the illness is to avoid being exposed to the virus. We advised all city employees, and we certainly hope that all residents adhere to certain everyday preventive actions to help prevent the spread of this respiratory disease. These include, and sometimes they're obvious, but I think we all need to be reminded, avoid close contact with those that are sick, avoid touching your eyes and nose and mouth, stay at home when you are sick, cover your cough or sneeze with a tissue and then throw your tissue in the trash. Clean and disinfect frequently, touching objects and surfaces using a regular household cleaning spray or wipe. Wash your hands often with soap and water for at least 20 seconds, especially after going to the bathroom, before eating, after blowing your nose, coughing, and or sneezing. These are everyday habits that can prevent the spread of this virus. And remember, the risk to the general public is still low. However, adhering to these preventive actions with the help of preventing and contracting the COVID-19 virus. We recommend that if you want to know more about the virus, if you just go to CDC, cdc.gov and /coronavirus, you can get all kinds of information online. We do have, as I think most people at this time do have a couple cases within this locale, and it is anticipated that there could be more. So that's what we're doing, and that's what we're asking our employees to do, and that's what we're asking the general public and the citizens of Temple Terrace to do.
Thank you very much, Chief. Council members, any questions? Chief Kemp? Any questions? No? Very good. Thank you very much, Chief. Mr. Stevenson, I know you're a little under the weather. Do you care to make a report, or you want to skip it?
Mr. Vice Mayor, I don't have anything this year.
Okay, very good.
That's good enough.
All right. City Attorney, anything to report?
I just wanted to mention briefly about the transportation surtax. For publics, to help everybody remember, Citizens Initiative ballot measure was approved by Hillsborough County voters on November the 6th of 2018. That amended the county charter and levied a 1% transportation sales surtax. That was challenged in court by one of the county commissioners and a county resident, and a portion was struck down by the trial court, but the rest of the amendment did survive. A second suit concerned bond validation, also under that particular charter amendment, and that was appealed to the Florida Supreme Court, and oral arguments took place on that February the 5th. The court, though, has not issued an opinion yet. I think we talked about this a little bit last meeting, but since that time, the county has proposed an ordinance without the unconstitutional portion and wishes to put that into effect. That too would implement a 1% discretionary transportation sales surtax. Under the proposed ordinance, the City of Temple Terrace would potentially receive $1,859,648 in the year 2021. The county is considering this to be placed on the ballot so that the citizens can essentially vote on this again, and it would be on the ballot this November 3rd, 2020. They are doing this in case the Florida Supreme Court does strike down the entire provision that amended the county's charter. So this would replace that and essentially keep that in place, as I said, minus the unconstitutional portions of it.
Mr. Schoen, I have a question regarding that. Thank you, good report. Suppose that the new proposed county ordinance were to pass and the court did not strike down the previous amendment. Is there any chance that we could wind up with double taxes?
What I've read in the proposed ordinance is that it sort of has a sunset provision or a repealing provision that if it is upheld by the Florida Supreme Court, then the ordinance they're proposing now would not go
I see.
into effect.
Okay,
So,
very good. Council members, questions? Anybody? Anything else, Mr. Schoen?
that's it.
Nothing more, Mr. Stevenson? Is there any other business to come before the council members? Before we adjourn, I'd just like to thank our city clerk, Ms. Mooney, for creating such good notes for me. She made this look like I knew what I was doing, but she gets all the credit for this, so thank you very much. And we are adjourned.